Our practice and our focus over this last couple of weeks and going forward for another few weeks is on Sah D'Simone's upcoming book, Spiritually We, The Art of Relating and Connecting from the Heart. And many of you are familiar with Sah. Some of you have studied with him. Some of you have seen the interviews I've done with him. He does the Spiritually Sassy podcast. He has a Spiritually Sassy book. And his main practice that he shares with others is around not getting too deep into the story, but working through the body. So this book that he's written is not that. It's not the somatic activating healing practice that he's really known for. It's more what he's also known for, but maybe not quite as widely, is his real wisdom and spiritual depth and depth of meditation. He's definitely a heart-centered person, and I'm really finding that there's a lot of wisdom in the book that he's sharing. So all the quotes in here are from Sah's new book. Don't shy away from the suffering of others. We somehow feel that if we get too close to suffering of others, we're going to get it on us and that we're going to suffer as well. It's a very interesting practice to let ourselves be open-hearted and also not suffer along with someone else. Really being clear of what is mine and what is somebody else's, not leaking into other people and not having their suffering leak into us. At the same time as we open our hearts and bring in suffering. So it's a practice for sure. It's really interesting. And one of the things that we discover is that we have this shared non-negotiable pain of being human, as he calls it. And compassion reminds us of that. It's so helpful. And one of the benefits of doing this work together in community and being in the small groups is that we can share what's going on with us and we can listen as others share. And we realize that we're not alone. We realize that, in fact, we have a lot in common. And we close our hearts to try to avoid suffering, whether it's our own traumatic memories or other people's. And in fact, that doesn't really work. So he takes this from kind of a psychological focus to the path of liberation. It's one of the things I appreciate about Sah in his work, is that he's talking about making our life better, being able to sit with difficult feelings, tolerating emotional discomfort makes us more functional in life. It makes us certainly easier to be around for other people if we can be there regulated in our own nervous system. And we have to do this in our body, and we have to be practical. So if we're emotionally activated about something, when another person's around, especially if it's someone that we might have some intensity with in our relationship, it's harder to stay regulated. One of the reasons that I love somatic inquiry so much is it gives us an opportunity to do some of that work ahead of time. So to be in our center, to be grounded, even when our body's flooded with emotions, even when we're full of catastrophic thinking or we're angry and have nasty thoughts or the inner critic, and that it takes regular practice. One of the reasons that I love doing the daily practices is that it gives us that opportunity to build that muscle of being in our body, being with our feelings, not being overwhelmed by them. And then we can take that into the world with other people as well. This, I think, is interesting. We don't want to be consumed by our feelings. And when we think about traumatic memory, the most important thing is we have to do that healing in the safety of this moment. If we're being dragged back into the past, which is what happens often, we have to be grounded enough to be aware that right here, in this moment, we're not back in the past. We're not being yelled at by that person. We're not being hurt. This feelings of some inflammatory texture, I think we can all kind of relate to that as well. Some feelings feel dull or scary or something. Some just feel hot and inflammatory. And especially when we experience them without access to our center. So that is how it would have been happening throughout most of our life. We were hurt. We had a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. We didn't have access to our center. We didn't have anyone to co-regulate with. So now we're doing this work. And we come into the moment through the breath, through our awareness of our body, our feet, our seat. We look around the room. We use all of our senses to remember right now is the present, not the past. So he talks about as well the focus on desired outcomes. When we focus on the future, we limit ourselves. If we can focus on right now, in this moment, I could take a breath. When you invite in a breath, you give your mind the coordinates of your body. I love that. So let's go into the practice of Tonglen. I first became familiar with this through Pema Chodron. She's somebody who's been doing that in the public arena, and I've really enjoyed the practice through her too, and became convinced that, especially when I was really suffering, this is a powerful practice that we can use. The basics is we take in some suffering and we breathe out some relief. What Sah is suggesting here is that we visualize pain and suffering as a thick, dark smoke that you're drawing into your heart. So, not into your lungs. You're drawing it into your heart to be transformed by the light of your compassion. What I've experienced is that the light of compassion is never completely blacked out by the smoke or by the darkness. Because it happens so quickly, like we're breathing in 3 seconds or whatever that might be, and then we're breathing out right away. We're only talking about, 3 to 5 seconds maybe of breathing in the dark, the suffering, and then we right away visualize that bright, luminous beam of healing emanating out from you. So this is the heart of our compassion, this beam of light coming back out. Let's get grounded first. We're going to notice right now, look around the room, notice that you're safe in your environment. So when I say that, notice the cues of safety. So your brain has already let you know that there's nothing imminently dangerous here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here doing this practice. But as you look around, notice what you see that's nourishing for you. Plants, whatever that might be. And you could hold your own hand. As we do this practice, you could have your hands on your heart. And also to completely give yourself permission to do the practice in a way that feels okay for you. If you want to take a break at any time, just do that. If you're starting to get feeling overwhelmed, open your eyes, look around the room, hold your hands, put your hands in your heart. So this isn't a contest. We're not going to be graded on it. It's a practice that we can do that is very helpful to do with compassion for ourselves as well. So let's bring our focus to someone you know. And it could be someone else you know, or it could be a painful situation that you're dealing with right now. It's generally helpful to do this on a 3 to 5 level, not a 10 out of 10, especially when we're getting used to the practice. However, if somebody that you know is really in a difficult situation, you might do this for them. So bring them to mind. Notice what happens in your body when you bring them to mind. This is for someone who's in pain or is suffering. Notice a specific person. Maybe you can see their face or hear their voice or whatever, however that comes to mind for you. And then bring your attention into your heart and notice the light of compassion. So when we care about someone, we naturally feel compassion for them. We acknowledge their suffering and we don't want that to just continue. We want them to feel better. We want them to have some ease. Some people have a visual memory or a visual image of that. Other people, it's more of a felt sense. So whatever it is for you, don't struggle with the visual. If you could imagine that their pain and suffering is like a thick, dark smoke, as you breathe in, allow that smoke to be drawn into your heart. And as that dark smoke is coming into your heart center, allow it to be transformed by the light of your compassion. And as you breathe out, send out some ease. You might visualize a luminous beam of light, of healing. You could maybe be looking at their face in your mind's eye, see them soften a bit or relax. That's a basic practice. We're going to do this for several minutes. You can get comfortable with it. You don't need to rush. So imagine that you're breathing in that thick, dark pain of theirs. And then as soon as you have that breathed into your heart, let it go right away into the exhale. Imagine that light of your compassion, that beaming light of healing is emanating out of your heart center. And then as soon as you finish breathing out, allowing that thick, dark smoke to come back into your heart. We draw it in on the inhale and transform it and send out relief and comfort on the exhale. You might imagine that with a visual. You might have a sense of lightness or warmth in your heart as you breathe it out, whatever that is for you. And it's okay to take little breaks, get yourself relaxed again. If you notice that you've tightened up your shoulders or you're clenching your teeth, if you notice that you're holding your breath, allow that to become more smooth. So this is a flow. On the inhale, we bring in the darkness of their suffering into our heart center. And right away on the exhale, without any holding or hesitation, we're bringing out that light, letting that emanate out from our heart center, allowing them, the person that is suffering, to feel that relief, that comfort. And then breathing out the healing, the light, our wish for them, our wonder, our healing, our heart, our love, our compassion. We breathe in that thickness, the dark, and we let that come into the heart, the light of our compassion, and then breathe it back out. We allow it to come right into our heart center. If we have walls or we're protecting our heart, allow that thick, dark smoke to penetrate those walls. Inside the heart center, we have that beautiful light of compassion. Notice how that thick darkness starts to lighten as it's coming into the heart. We're breathing out that beautiful healing beam of light, allowing that to ease the suffering of the person that you care about. Taking in the suffering on the inhale and right away breathing out the relief. There's no residue in our own heart. It's completely transformed by the light in our heart, by our compassion. And then a couple more breaths with this person in mind. Breathing in that dark, sooty smoke, letting that transform into the light of compassion, extending that out to them. And then let go of that particular person and now bring to mind everyone who might be in that situation. If you have a child who's got some kind of a health situation going on or a crisis, you might bring to mind all of the other parents who are in that situation, who are worried about a child's health. Whatever you're working with, think about other people who are in a similar situation. You might not have them as a picture in your mind, but energetically reach out. Allow them now to be who you're doing the practice for. So you inhale that thick, dark smoke of that communal suffering, that common suffering that we often have. And as it reaches your heart, it's transformed by that light of our compassion. Exhale the antidote to the pain, the silent blessing flowing as a river of light. Inhaling that darkness into the area of your heart. Exhaling the relief. Anytime you need to, just come back into your own regulation. Notice your body. Notice your own heart isn't actually full of thick, dark smoke. Look around the room again, get regulated. This is a practice. And then if it's comfortable, come back into this practice for other people, extending out this blessing to everyone who's suffering in a similar way. And maybe you're one of those people as well. You're doing this as well for yourself. You could include yourself. We breathe in the darkness, the suffering, thick, dark smoke into the area of the heart. And as it reaches the heart, it's completely transformed by the light of our compassion. And we're breathing out that river of light flowing from our heart center to the person we care about, to everyone else in that situation. Breathing out that cool ease, the balm of relief. 2 or 3 more deep breaths. Inhale the darkness, exhale the light. Feel that in your body. And then rest for a moment in your heart center. Allow the light of your compassion in your heart center to become stronger in your awareness. Breathe in and out. Just aware now of the light. Let go of the practice of Tonglen. And as you're breathing in, allow the light to be brighter. As you're breathing out, allow the light to be brighter. It's resting in the heart of your own compassion. And then notice what the experience was as you were doing the practice. This is a complicated, intense practice. So notice what happened with you when you were breathing it in for someone you care about, when you were extending that out to others as well. No judgment, no shame. Have compassion for yourself too. It's a practice.